I asked Berlin Metz come because she is our partner in the project we are planning to do, but she is working in Canada, though she is of German origin, so she couldn't come. And also Professor Schwab. I want to shortly summarize, and maybe Professor Bührer also tells what they do in terms of music therapy or environmental enrichment in the Charité. And well, maternal stress we have heard and anxiety are quite common, and they mean also stress for the baby and possibly long-term cognitive impairment. And it's not only the stress per se. Women have a different resilience to that. Well, there are epigenetic consequences, as Umberto has told us. They can, there are transgenerational in terms of 1, 2, or 3 generations. And for me, it was very striking, or very impressive lecture I heard in India on the first Congress of Fetal Origin and Adult Diseases, still organized by Professor Barker in India. And Professor Mini was talking. And Professor Mini had all these wonderful animal experiments in mice. So these mice, there are, let's say, the black ones are the non-licking grooming mice, and the white are the licking grooming mice. And the next generation of mothers, or the children of mothers who are licking and grooming and caring for their children, they also do this with their children, and they also present better in all kind of survival tests and intelligent tests which are there for mice. When you do adoption studies, what you cannot do in humans, and you give the black children to the white mothers, the next generation in black will also be licking, grooming like the white ones, and those being born from the licking, grooming, but brought up by the non-licking, grooming mice will not do this. So there's an epigenetic programming. But what was even more fascinating was that when the licking, grooming mice had no stress at all, so it was always warm, they had enough to eat, then they stopped grooming, they stopped to care for their children, and the next generation also did not care for their children. Only when you induced some kind of stress, some hunger, some coldness, then they started cuddling again. So this was really a fascinating talk, and I could not forget this. And since I like music, and I always dreamed of a concept of imposing this kind of environmental enrichment to humans, but I must say, when I was working in hospitals, I had no support, and even ethical committees stopped me from doing this. I was very happy to read this review now from the group of meaning, and if you want to have a summary, then you read this review, which was published recently. And then on the, Congress in Edinburgh, I met Professor Olsen, and also he introduced me to Berlin Metz from Canada. And they introduced me to their concept of allostatic load. Allostatic load means that you also have a transgenerational transmission of stress. And they could prove it in rats, because in rats you have the chance, to look much faster for several generations, and you can follow up. the children and the first and second and third generation. So what they did was to look at transgenerational stress, which was induced, and then to look at different generations of mice, and they could see that rats born from who were really had epigenetic stress, so their parents or grandparents were stressed. Then these mice, for instance, had cerebral changes and expression. They also tested the RNA expression, but also they couldn't even cross this ladder, this kind of strix. And here you see the number of failed attempts to cross on this strix. So they changed the environment in the mothers, and they did something and I want to end positive, kind of environmental enrichment. So they increased the colors and the stores of the caves, and they not yet music, but they want to do it anyhow. By doing this environmental enrichment, the epigenetically stressed rats got even better than the controls with environmental enrichment. In other words, let's say I was born from my grandparents, they all lost everything in East Prussia and their families, and I had a lot of epigenetic stress when I look back to my grandparents and even my parents due to all these historic wars. But at least I can remember that we were always singing. My mother was singing every evening at my bed, and when we went to grandparents, we were always singing in the car. So they tried with the little they had to do some kind of environmental enrichment, and I'm very grateful for that. Whether it made something or not with me, I don't know. So here you see again this environmental enrichment, but what this group also did, they looked at the oxytocin, the same what Mini did in the rats, and they saw mainly in females differences in the oxytocin level due to environmental enrichment, and they also looked at the telomere length, and they could also induce in the next generation rats with different telomeres. Well, there was Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Prize in 2009 for discovering the telomerase. And when you put cells in a laboratory, while you observe them how they divide very fast, and then there's then it's declining. When you put in telomerase, they go on dividing. So with this enzyme, you can induce quite some or stop some kind of aging processes. So the telomeres sit at the end of the chromosomes and somehow are responsible, when they get short very quickly, how we age. And it is for every major life stressor, we have heard this yesterday also on the Perinatal Congress, the telomere length is declining. And these effects can be also shown in humans after serious life events. And meanwhile, there are new studies from a group, also with Dr. Entringer, who partly works in Berlin, showing that a pro-inflammatory state during pregnancy can induce in the newborn cells with significantly shorter telomeres already at birth. Whether this already programs for a shorter life I don't know, but she could also, positively speaking, and this is not yet published, this is not my data, but she showed yesterday for the first time, I made a picture, and I hope she will excuse, that there is new evidence for a positive interaction, linking positive psychological factors during pregnancy with the newborn to a longer telomere length. And well, negatively speaking, against maternal stress is responsible for much more than preterm birth, for 17% of the variance of cognitive capabilities later in childhood. A lot of these problems like autism or not concentrating are known. And this is also cited in the review of Mini, and we have heard already, and I don't want to go into details due to the time, from Thorsten Braun, or the mechanisms in the placenta. It is quite difficult to do cohort studies, but the Canadians made it to do cohort studies when there were big catastrophes, like the wildfire or the ice storm, or there you see also the Pforzheim study. And in Houston they did, this was presented at the SMFM, they investigated women who had a big cohort after the flood and after the hurricane, and women were more likely to suffer from that. And they had higher anxiety scores and panic symptoms and hopelessness. But in fact, the short-term outcome was not affected. But the long-term, we don't know. I don't want to go into details of fecal growth because the previous speakers have already talked about it, but I really like the concept of Rita, therefore I put it once again to screen, and then we still don't know how to intervene. So we have heard of Umberto, we have to do something sometimes, and I want to skip this. We also have to remember that maternal obesity is causing shorter life length, but it is also associated with an adverse child cognitive development. Whether this is also due to the pro-inflammatory state and telomere length alone, I don't know. But what we have to do something with that. So what I do when I was working in Marburg up to last year, we showed them the results from the animal studies, our patients, and showed them the children of the next generation. So these are mothers who are controlled, the next generation of mothers with normal weight, and this is the next generation of mothers who are obese. And when they do a diet during pregnancies, the animals would look like that, or when they do exercise. But what I want to say, it was somehow easier for me to explain these experiments with rats instead of saying to the woman, listen, please lose weight. But they understood quite nicely, and you can also put evidence in these icon arrows. We published this, what effect a certain intervention, what we heard from Mireille, like sport or diet, will do to the mothers, and they will understand better than statistics. We have heard the importance of breastfeeding, but what I also like is that publication from the Canadian group that early music experience modifies aging up to 70 and 80 years. People who had learned piano in their youth, they could better coordinate and had also a better cognitive outcome. So there is something with this environmental enrichment. There are very, very few studies which you can cite, which are scientific, where you can prove that music interventions work. But I only found this publication long ago, that in a poor country, but the kangaroo trial was also developed in a poor country, they did a program in Mexico nurturing parents, and telling them to sing with their children or talk during pregnancy, and after music intervention, the children could be observed with a higher incidence of positive attitudes, because when we talk it can also be aggressive. When we sing, this is quite hard to be aggressive. I was very impressed long ago by this publication of De Casper, that children already directly after birth recognize the voice of the mother, even certain songs, and orientate towards that. So I think we have to care with this environmental enrichment, not only for stress reduction, but also to do a continuation for these children from the world before birth to after birth, because our ear is already of adult size at 18 weeks. And the babies not only hear, they also understand and recognize what they are hearing. This could make them somehow more confidential. So it took me more or less my whole life to find models for that, until I met Amir and Yair 2 years ago. And this is Yair, he's sitting here. He designed also pastries, but they designed, Amir is a composer, a kind of music ball. You can also order kind of small music balls by internet, where you can put with Bluetooth any kind of music the woman would like, and they can play. And it is a very soft ball. I don't know, do you have, he's not here now. Well, I have such a thing at home, and we have a product which we can offer to parents, so that they can play with their father, put in the music they like. But we also met a teacher of Amir, who is a professor of rhythmic, and she has developed a program, and we want to start next week. And the advantage is that we could make the same smaller balls for the neonatal intensive care unit. We have found, we don't know, it will be first a feasibility study whether this environmental enrichment will work. And here you see we have a group from the Dr. Hellmeyer and Dr. Meyer in former times, excuse me, and 4 artists. 1 artist who will modulate with pregnant women from 16 weeks onwards. Maybe we should start earlier when I hear all these early concepts. We have Jutta Michaud, who will do creative writing, because in the first randomized trial in Canada, those women who did creative writing after the big wildfire, the children had a much better outcome. So also for stress reduction. We have a singer who will also sing tonight, who will do breathing techniques and singing, what the woman might like. And we have this ball concept to work, to walk, which could also be combined in the bees' pregnancies to reduce secondary thing. And I don't know whether this works normally. You can go to the internet, and all these artists made videotapes how they will start to work with these women, and then the woman can deliberately decide. So after the feasibility study, which will probably take the next year, we can decide. We also will measure stress parameters. Dr. Brown in the placenta, we have a skin detection for stress resistance, and this is a very new model, and Gerlinde Metz is willing to determine cortisol in the hairs, and we also use evaluative questionnaires. So this is, of course, I know that all my clinicians think I'm crazy, but luckily now I'm free, and I would be happy if we could, with such a simple intervention like a music board, which doesn't cost very much, prevent that make them so enthusiastic and happy that the telomeres of their babies will grow, and that they have less sedentary behavior because they like it so much that they always jump up and play with a ball or something like that. But this is totally hypothetical, but you must always have a vision in your life, and that is mine. And I'm happy to show you the videos, but due to the time, I would say you can talk to the artists who are here later in the evening and look at our homepage. That is the Clara Angela homepage. You can Google, and then you go to Berlin, and then you can see all the videotapes. Well, this is the symbol of the Clara Angela Foundation. It's from Raphael. The virtues of symbolized by this woman, courage and temperance and wisdom. Wisdom looks in the past and in the future at the same time. That was yesterday. Professor Saling was my past. He, in fact, was not an easy boss always, but at least I could not only learn about fetal blood gases. With him, I also did intrauterine voice recordings, which were used by Amir for composition in the Gorky Theater. And he also, well, in the time when I came back from Heidelberg, we did also magnetoencephalography and recorded the first magnetic waves after some hearing of the babies. This is the future. My two students are here. They evaluate all the lifestyle parameters, and this is also my future. The team from Vivantes and these artists and Dr. Brown to at least start. I might not be alive when these projects end, but it is nice to start. So I would like now to Professor Bührer to tell something what he is doing with his babies, and maybe then, when we have finished the feasibility, we can coordinate our dreams. Could you come here and say something? Yeah, I have to say that Gerlinde Metz is really a nice biologist, and she now applies also to come for a year to Berlin in 2 years, or but to the VICO. And then, Jackie, I would like you to summarize the day and ask questions to the youngs and to coordinate what you learned today.
Well, just a short...
Yeah. You can also show something if you wish.
Well, I'd like to talk first.
Yeah.
There are two very different ways of doing music therapy. One is the Geneva way, which is having recorded music, put it into an incubator, and hope the baby will do better. And the other one is the individualized way, and music is just a vehicle of like bringing together mother and baby. If the baby is in a hospital because it's preterm or because the baby is sick, we strongly damage the mother-baby relationship. It's our fault. We have no other choice. So we damage that, and we have three patients. One is the baby, one is the mother, and the third one is the mother-baby relationship. So look for things how to improve on that. And one way is music, but it's just a vehicle. And the best way of every mother who has a baby who has some kind of trouble will use a lot of these. It's important the mother sings, not recorded music from Mozart or Brahms. And so what we do, we encourage the mothers to sing lullabies to their babies on the intensive care unit. And it's very important to encourage them to use their lullabies. So we have, like, that's maybe a special of all big cities, you have people from all over the world, migrants who fled from war. But they have a cultural heritage, which is their lullabies. And we encourage them to use their own lullabies from Syria. They sing in Kiswahili, they sing from in Spanish, in Vietnamese, whatever. And they sing. And when we encourage them to sing, they're very hesitant. Singing on an intensive care unit. And then it turns out they know only the first verses. And we encourage them to dig for other ones. And they will find out. They get in touch with their own mother. They get in touch with their own cultural roots. And they unearth those lullabies. So that's a way of getting a baby in touch with the baby's cultural roots, which may be thousands of miles away. So it's a very different approach to that recorded music. And there have been plans to check which one is better during a cluster randomized controlled trial. But we refused because this kind of music therapy, it's so entrenched in our unit, we just couldn't do without for 6 months in a row, which would be a prerequisite for cluster randomized controlled trial. So although we would have liked to do it, to apply for a grant, we finally decided we can't do it. It has become a regular part of our daily life in the intensive care unit. And it's not about better neurodevelopment, because it's very difficult to measure, because you have so many confounders. It's about healing the mother's soul or mind, or however you call it, getting her back in touch with the baby, and showing her you are the mother, you are the person who sings the lullabies. So making her unique in that environment. That helps a lot. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I believe the same. I think maybe when mother does not sing and uses the ball, or we can combine then in the feasibility study singing with Angela the lullabies with the ball, and maybe when we have a good, we can combine this. Do you think, honestly, it would help when the baby recognizes the melody she or he has heard already during pregnancy?
I
mean, when the mother has sung this song.
Well, actually, we are saying, we tell the mothers, please sing because it's good for your baby. But the truth behind this, please sing because it's good for you.
Yeah, also for both. But do you think it would help if this mother, whom you have to train on you, would have already started in the first trimester, not knowing that she had a premature baby, but she is already used to?
Well, we could do. I think it makes sense. If you're an obstetrician taking or counseling women who are pregnant, just tell them that singing is helpful. And prepare yourself for the weeks and months after you have given birth. Just train lullabies. Then they will sing the lullabies and unearth the lullabies before birth, and then they will do the same thing afterwards. One of the first, babies recognize patterns of speech. And for example, babies growing up in Germany, they recognize that most words are stressed in the first syllable. They recognize, the first thing they recognize. In babies growing up in France, they recognize that usually words are stressed in the last syllable. So the first thing they recognize are stress patterns. So, and that kind of give the baby a feeling of being at home, and then it will go to those people who speak that language, who have that pattern in their speech. So singing and learning how to learning, understanding language are quite interconnected. So I guess singing helps acquiring speech.
Yeah, it is. It's proven already.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of literature.
But it's important. It's not about art. It's about personal relationship. And it's
Yes.
about that mother singing to that baby.
Yes.
And it's empowering the mother that only she can sing. And only she will bring the baby what the baby needs. It's like breastfeeding counseling. You tell the mother, only you have the milk. And that's so important for the mother. If it's true or not, I don't care. It's important that only she can do it.
Okay. Okay,
So-
Jackie,
oh.
now. Guide the discussion.
I appreciate your model, but my observation is if the mother is in the unit and has no stress and that the baby is getting sick, she will start to speak, and if she has learned to sing, or if she will also start to sing, and she will find other things.
I say it's very...
I just want
Sorry,
to
yeah.
say once more, I think we have to change our units. They have to be a nice, as much as possible, a nice place for the parents, so that they like to come, that they have no stress, that they are welcome and feel well, and then they will develop their relationship to the
That's true. Our intensive care unit, our weird mixture of intensive care unit and living rooms. And they have turned that way. And it's like if you're taking care of a baby in incubator, everybody who does that will talk to the baby. And when you open the incubator, you'll talk to the baby. The most natural thing to do. The nurses do it, the doctors do it. We always talk to the babies. I mean, there's no purpose in that, but we do it by ourselves. And of course, you could sing to the babies. Don't be afraid. I'm taking the little needle, getting it in the ring.